we had a blockbuster first 5 or 6 days of the book being released. The book, if you have not seen it already or if you've not purchased it, it should be right now on the newest New York Times bestseller list. This should be the number 8 book in America. If you look at number of copies sold, this book came out on Tuesday of last week. And in the first week that it was out, it sold more books than all but 7 nonfiction books in America. The New York Times classifies their books list as a bestseller list. We dominated, dunked on, crushed at least half of the books on their bestseller list, and we were not ranked. I'm telling you right now, I think that has a lot to do with what the cover of my book looks like. I think if I had Colin Kaepernick dunking on Donald Trump, and I had put that on the cover of my book, and my book had the entire thing had been written about Colin Kaepernick being a hero, I think the New York Times would have put this book on their bestseller list. I think they discriminated against me based on the cover and based on the content of my book, just like that bookseller who canceled the event with me did. I sold a ton of copies. We sold a ton of copies. The publisher had to go back to print twice already. There is no amount of betterment I could have done. Now, here's what I could have done. I was approached before the book came out by a company that said, if you pay us $50,000, we will guarantee your book gets on the New York Times bestseller list. I said, well, how do you do that? They said, we have the formula that the New York Times uses. We will go buy books from all of the independent bookstores, the hoity-toity liberal bookstores that they use. We will go buy your book from them. We'll get online. We'll buy your book. And we will guarantee you that you will be on the New York Times bestseller list. I said, okay, that's interesting. So what's the catch? They said, you have to pay us $50,000 to do that. I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I understand lots of people do whatever they can to get on the list. I said, I want to be completely fair. I want to be completely transparent. I will sell the crap out of this book. I will hold it up on my Periscopes and Facebooks. I will send a ton of tweets out with a link to this book. I will do whatever I can to promote it because I stand behind my work. But I'm not going to pay you $50,000 to guarantee that I get on the New York Times bestseller list. I said, I want to do it without basically book steroids. And so my numbers are real, they are authentic, and they are spectacular. Unlike the New York Times, I think that they should focus on the books that are actually selling instead of crappy books that nobody buys, that they want to advertise as being a really big best-selling book. So, yeah, even lists have no integrity anymore. The New York Times bestseller list has 0 integrity, okay? 0 integrity beyond a shadow of doubt, and that is the simple truth, okay? The New York Times bestseller list has no integrity. It's not actually a bestseller list. It's a collection of books that the New York Times wants to give props to that frequently no one is actually reading, that they want to make it seem like there are a ton. If you're at all curious about these lists, if you're at all curious about this list, I tweeted out the exact numbers this week because I try to be as accurate as I can. I try to share facts with you as often as I can. I tweeted out the exact numbers of every New York Times list, every book that's sold. And I would encourage you guys to go check it out. I think that you will, I think that you'll just find it intriguing to see what's actually selling and to see what books are being left off. So I think you guys would legitimately enjoy it. And so I want to thank you guys for all that you have done to make my book a bestseller, a New York Times bestseller, a bestseller that triggered the New York Times so much that they protested and kept it off the best-selling list. This, my friends, is what triumph looks like.